Welcome back, everyone. Let's go ahead and do a quick little comparison between the OnePlus 9 and the iPhone 10. This is kind of a random comparison, but a lot of people own the iPhone 10 and probably want to see it, or OnePlus 9 they plan on getting. If you want to pick up either one of these phones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely see the OnePlus 9 is a much bigger phone in pretty much every single category. It also looks a lot nicer. You don't have the notch, but the iPhone 10 still looks current because the iPhone 12 still look like it. The iPhone 10 has that 5.8-inch panel on the front. OLED display looks very good. Even though it has that notch, like I stated, it really doesn't look too old. And I like this phone. I think it's a beautiful phone. I have nothing. This is like my actual iPhone 10 I used for like a year and a half, and I liked it. There's nothing wrong with it. The colors are great, true tone, beautiful display. The OnePlus 9, on the other hand, does have that bigger 6.55-inch Fluid AMOLED display, whole punch display, and it looks very good. It's 1080p, so the resolution is actually a little bit lower on the OnePlus 9 than the iPhone 10, but it still looks great. One of the biggest advantages that you have on the OnePlus 9 is that you actually do have a 120Hz refresh rate on this phone, which looks very good. I like that type of refresh rate a lot. The iPhone 10 has that standard 60Hz. It is kind of a big deal in my opinion, but the iPhone 10 came out in 2017, so it's totally okay. In terms of the thinness and thickness, I think the OnePlus 9 is a little bit thicker. The iPhone 10 feels pretty slim. And on the back, glass backs on both. Not really that big of a difference. They feel almost exactly the same. A little bit more curve on the side of the OnePlus 9. A dual camera setup on the iPhone 10, kind of like a triple camera setup on the OnePlus 9. Both have wireless charging. The iPhone 10 on all models has IP certification. The OnePlus 9, only the T-Mobile version has IP certification. So another pretty big thing to keep in mind there. But that really pretty much covers it up in terms of the outside. They're both fairly similar, there's not really that crazy big of a difference. However, a pretty big difference, or actually a similar difference if you think about it, is that they both are probably going to end off around the same time in software updates. The OnePlus 9 is going to have custom ROMs and roots and all that stuff for it eventually. The iPhone 10 has none of that, but you have jailbreaks and stuff. But the iPhone 10, it came out in 2017, and even here, I don't know which one is going to outlast the other one. I'm going to assume the OnePlus 9 may outlast the iPhone 10, but that's still pretty crazy considering the iPhone 10 is almost a 4-year-old phone at this point. So that definitely is pretty wild in my opinion. So I think when it comes down to the software aspect, the OnePlus 9 is probably the one that's going to last longer, but the iPhone 10 still has many more years of software update as well. So that's another pretty major thing to keep in mind. But the battery life is one of those things that's definitely going to be better on the OnePlus 9. The iPhone 10 didn't really have that bad battery life, but it was like a 2700 mAh battery. The OnePlus 9 has a 4500 mAh battery, and this is a big size battery for this device. It's flawless. I like it a lot, and this battery on the OnePlus 9 is going to be better than on the iPhone 10. So when it comes down to it, you're going to be getting a longer lasting battery on the OnePlus 9 than the iPhone 10. And that's really honestly probably one of the bigger differences between these phones. So in terms of that covers that up. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these devices. The OnePlus 9 has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 chipset inside of it, with 8 gigs of RAM on the base model and 12 gigs of RAM on the top tier model. This model has 8 gigs. The iPhone 10 has that Apple A11 Bionic chip inside of it with 3 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both of these. Okay, now that we're back, all the apps are cleared out in the background as you guys can see. Let's get into it. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. And I think the OnePlus 9 was probably faster. As you can see, animation speeds looks about the same. Let's go and do their Play Stores. 3, 2, 1. And you can see OnePlus 9 is faster. The iPhone 10, I just remembered, has this network issue for some reason. Scrolling speed-wise, you guys can see about the same. But I'd probably give the edge there to the OnePlus 9. As always, I have a bunch of these third-party apps we can go and get into. Let's go and get into something like Instagram. 3, 2, 1. And I think the OnePlus 9 was faster. Again, my iPhone 10 has a network issue. Fruit Ninja, 3, 2, 1. And you can see, I think maybe the OnePlus 9 is faster. This one, OnePlus 9 is already loaded. Again, the iPhone 10 is probably going to have some network issue again. I don't know what happened to this device. Randomly it just stopped working. There we go. Hopping out of this one. Let's go and get into Facebook. 3, 2, 1. I think the OnePlus 9 was faster, but the iPhone 10 was literally right behind it. Twitter, 3, 2, 1. OnePlus 9 again is faster. iPhone 10 a little bit behind. Hopping out of this one. Let's do Snake versus Blocks. 3, 2, 1. And I guess we're already in a game on the OnePlus 9. The iPhone 10 a little bit behind there. Not like a ginormous big deal in my opinion. Let's do Dropbox. 3, 2, 1. OnePlus 9 again is faster, iPhone 10 a little bit behind. Snapchat 3, 2, 1. OnePlus 9 is faster, iPhone 10 a bit behind. Netflix 3, 2, 1. OnePlus 9 was like instantaneous. Again, a little bit of a pop up on iPhone 10. Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And you can see the OnePlus 9, as always, is a pretty fast phone. As I mentioned, this is a really big upgrade coming from the previous Qualcomm Snapdragons. And you can see a little bit of a pop up on the iPhone 10 yet again. Getting into some gameplay, let's see if there's a ginormous difference. It did glitch up here a little bit on the iPhone 10. I have no idea what's going on over there, but the middle thing is still going, so that's very weird. Hopping out of this specific app, let's go and do Quizlet. 3, 2, 1. And again, the OnePlus 9 is faster. iPhone 10 a bit behind. Let's go and end it off with Thank You. 3, 2, 1. And the OnePlus 9 was faster. iPhone 10 just a tad bit behind again. Gameplay wise, you can see the glitchiness looks to be about the same. There's not really that big of a difference between these two there. So I think ultimately you guys can kind of tell the iPhone 10 is a little bit slower than the OnePlus 9 for sure, which is expected. This is coming up to be a 4-year-old phone. The OnePlus 9 is, a brand new phone. I want this phone to be faster. You're spending more money on it. It's going to be the faster phone overall. But surprisingly, as I mentioned before, the iPhone 10 really isn't that far behind. Like, I'll be completely honest. I think the iPhone 10 handles everything you throw at it for the most part. It just so happens that for sure the OnePlus 9 is the faster one without a doubt. So in terms of that, that covers it up there. Let's go and hit on the cameras. Now, as I mentioned before, dual cameras set up on the iPhone 10, wide-angle lens and a telephoto lens. The OnePlus 9, on the other hand, has that wide-angle lens, ultra-wide sensor, and a color filter camera. Now, I've said this for a while too. I think the iPhone 10's camera isn't bad, but it definitely is a little bit dated. So first of all, you do have that dual camera setup, which is good. Telephoto lens as well. You can do 4K at 60 on the back of this lens, which I'm glad at. That's awesome. But you can only do 1080p at 30 on the front. That can definitely age this camera. But on something like the OnePlus 9, you still can only do 1080p at 30 as well, and that's a brand new phone. So that gives me more respect for something like an iPhone 10, to be honest. Zooming in and out, you have the same capability on this phone for the most part as you do on something like an iPhone 12, but this camera is still fairly solid. It's a pretty decent camera. It's definitely grainy, it's definitely not the best, but I think for the age that it is, it's actually pretty decent. Now, compared to something like the OnePlus 9, you do have 8K capability on the back of this camera, which I think is actually extremely cool to see. Again, it's not like the best camera out this year, I don't think, but it's still a very decent lens for this thing. Only 1080p at 30 on the front camera, which, as I mentioned before, is kind of an L. I'm not a huge fan of it, but again, it's like, what are you going to do about it? You do have that telephoto or that ultra-wide sensor for the most part, so you can zoom out a lot versus zooming in a lot on the iPhone 10. And I think overall, this camera is probably better. I don't think it's like miles better, but if I had to choose one, I would rather have the OnePlus 9. But I still think something like an iPhone 12 Pro has a better camera here. And I don't know, I'm not a fan of this UI. I really think they could have done a better job. But as I mentioned before, there's nothing we can do about it. They're not going to go and maybe they'll push out an update and fix it. But as of right now, this is pretty much where we're at right now. So I think the OnePlus 9 has a better camera between this and the iPhone 10. But the iPhone 10 is like almost a 4-year-old phone. What are you going to do about it? So to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, should you go and buy a OnePlus 9 or should you go and buy an iPhone 10? Well, this is what I'll tell you. I think if you have to pick up one, I would rather have a OnePlus 9. This phone is more of a flagship device. It has more going for it overall. I think it's solid. I think it, has a lot of power. The cameras are kind of better on it, I guess. The screen is better with 120 Hz in both fingerprint sensor in the display. Bigger size battery. Performance, I think, is better on the OnePlus 9. I just think, though, the iPhone 10, for being 4 years old, for me even kind of mentioning it in the same video as the OnePlus 9, is pretty insane by how well this phone is holding up so far. This phone is not a brand new phone. You're going to spend probably around $250 on this thing right now, if that's kind of generous, to be honest. And this is a timeless phone. You can pick this phone up probably like 3 or 4 years from now still, and still think to yourself that this is still a very solid phone. I mean, this phone's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's still supported, has a lot going for it, and I think ultimately this is a very solid phone for sure. I think the OnePlus 9 is a better one to buy if you have to buy a phone for long-term use and you want to keep it forever. I think the OnePlus 9 is the better way to go. But I think the iPhone 10, as I mentioned time and time again, this is like a perfect phone for so many people still. Yeah, it doesn't have the best camera. The battery life isn't that great as much anymore, but it's still working. It still has a beautiful display, IP certification on all models, and it has a really good camera for the most part for its age, jailbreak capability forever. Like, the iPhone 10 is a really good phone. But I just think the OnePlus 9 for a lot more people may be the better way, but I don't think you can go wrong with either one of these. But I would recommend the OnePlus 9 over the iPhone 10. But if you have an iPhone 10, I'd recommend keeping it as well. So in terms of that, that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.